in this weekend, and I think 4 of the 5 Hayden Fry children are also expected to be here to be recognized this weekend. So with that, we'll get to Coach. Oh, and tomorrow, LeVar Woods will be our coach tomorrow at Zoom.
There will be a transcript.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Appreciate everybody being here. And, a couple thoughts here about the weekend, obviously, and then this week's game coming up. And before that, I'll just kind of veer off for a second. Coach Hawkeyes always starts his meetings with a moment of history. I'm going to give you a points to ponder item here today. So a couple years ago, the NCAA passed a rule that, basically said you can't start any activities until 6 o'clock, which I think is really a good rule for student athletes, no question about that. Still trying to figure out, we have NCAA drug testing, everybody goes through that. That's not a surprise to anybody. But we had more than a handful of athletes that had to be here at 5:30 today to have an NCAA drug test. I'm just trying to find the logic in there. Sure, there is some somewhere. If you can explain it to me after last week's waiver process, good luck on that one. Then the other thing, it's a random test, and I think we had 22 athletes tested, 16 were in our 2 deep. So that's kind of an interesting random definition for me too. So anyway, just start that. Things to ponder, things that get you distracted from what you're trying to do. It seems like we have something every week. So anyway, but going back last week, we'll first and foremost, it was really good to get the win. Our football team needed to experience some success and have a good locker room, certainly. So really happy about that. It's never easy against Northwestern, home or away. They're a tough team, have been forever, and Saturday's no different. It was challenging, certainly in the fourth quarter, and our guys fought to the end, as did their team. So just happy for our guys. I think the tape reflected some improvement. Glad to see that. Certainly we got plenty of room to continue to improve, and that's the task in front of us right now. And that's important for us moving forward. Certainly going to be important for us this week as we look at Minnesota coming to town here. Just in general, we always talk to our guys about November football, just how important it is, and that really is where teams, get defined. That's what they get remembered by typically. And you look across our conference and really college football, there's a lot of teams right now competing for meaningful positions in conference races, all that kind of stuff. And I've said it repeatedly, not that anybody really cares, but early season polls don't mean a lot. And this is kind of where things start to get sifted out and define themselves. So there's plenty of opportunity out there for us, plenty of opportunity for a lot of teams in our conference. It'll be interesting to watch and see what happens over the next couple of weeks for sure. And for us, it's pretty easy. Our focus has to be on what's in front of us. We got 3 really tough competitive games in front of us, and it leads into this week certainly with Minnesota coming to town. Captain-wise for the game, we've got the same guys as last week. We got Tyler Linderbaum on offense, Matt Hankins, Jack Kerner, and Jack Campbell defensively. So they'll be out there. Put a depth chart out. I wrote that Sunday night based on where our team was at. And if we were playing tomorrow, Peters would not play. Certainly Mason would not be playing. Terry Roberts would not be playing. I think Riley's got a good chance to play, and we'll just see how the week plays out. But those are the probably 4 most notable injuries at this point, and we'll just kind of see where that all goes. Regarding Minnesota, they're a tough football team, a good football team, and they're playing really hard for Coach Fleck and his staff. No big surprise, a lot of veteran players there. And I think to me, as I look at their team, a couple thoughts. Really, look at it. They got off to a challenging start. They were 2-2 at one point. Lost, if not the best running back in the conference, one of the best running backs in the conference. Certainly, I know a real leader on their football team. Yet they played through that and came back and have won 4 out of 5 since that time, and really played good football. And they're a big physical team, both sides of the football. Quarterback is one of the most experienced and dangerous quarterbacks in our conference. Really good player. They run the ball extremely well. Got some really talented receivers. Defensively, and this is really true of their whole team, they've got a real identity. You know who they are and what they are and how they do things. Defensively, that's very clear. They're very veteran, very well coached, and know their scheme inside and out and do a great job on special teams. So, it's going to be a real challenge for us. We're going to have to do everything we can to be ready for it on Saturday. Obviously excited to be back at home after being gone for a while. It feels like a month, and I guess it will be a month when we hit the field. So that's going to be great. And on a side, just as Steve mentioned, I think it's just fantastic that the 81 team will be able to be recognized and have a reunion. Really neat that timed up where Andre could be back. Andre going into the College Football Hall of Fame, and think about that. And one of his teammates, Bob Stoops, being here a few weeks back. Two guys going in the College Football Hall of Fame. That's a pretty cool thing. And then, obviously, Coach Fry, with the timing of his passing, the pandemic, great to have his family back here too. That'll be really special too. So for Hawk fans to be able to recognize all those really tremendous people, I think that's really a neat thing. And then last, not least, is just mention Lucas Moore is our honorary captain this week from Fort Dodge, and Lucas had open heart surgery at 3 months of age, and is just doing great now. I understand he plays the drums, big sports fan, so it'll be great to have him with us on Saturday as well. And I'll throw it out for questions.
First of all, how is Spencer feeling, and has he been able to practice at all?
Yeah, our strategy really has been to rest him. We'll see what he can do tomorrow and see how he looks. He's feeling pretty well. It's just a matter of throwing the ball effectively, and that ultimately was the decision Saturday. Just was real clear on that last throw. Just couldn't get the zip on it that he needs to. So medically, he's clear to play, if that makes sense. And that's how every decision gets made. It's, there's a medical component, and then the rest of it is going to play effectively. And for a quarterback, if you can't throw it effectively, it's really tough. So we'll see where it is tomorrow. I think all of us are of the mindset right now that Alex will play. And then we'll see where it all takes us from there. But Spencer's done a great job. Great leader, team first guy, and has a really good resume.
So medically, Petras can play, but so would he be the number 2 quarterback on Saturday, or is Hogan the 2 right now until you find out more about Spencer?
Well, he has to be, because right now Spencer's not practicing, so Deuce has to be ready, and that's his task. And it's pretty simple. I mean, the medical part of it, or at least what guys can do and can't do, really dictates what we're going to do. So we've got to prepare mentally, like Alex is going to be the starter, and then Deuce will back him up, and then we'll just see what we can do with Spence.
You haven't been in this situation very often, not since really only once since Stanzi who went down in 09. This is only the second time. I mean, what are your thoughts about Deuce Hogan now moving into that role as the number 2? Because, as you know, things can happen very quickly, and he might get thrown in there. Yeah,
that's a good question. It's really probably the biggest gap there is, because the advantage of being a 2 is you get a lot of work, during the course of a week. It's hard to practice 3 quarterbacks. NFL teams talk about that all the time. NFL, it's even hard to practice your 2 guy. Unless your 1 guy is played in the league 20 years, then, he doesn't need quite as much work. But, so yeah, it's a challenge. It's a real challenge for him. And, obviously he's been here for a while, and he's been paying attention and watching. And he has gotten some work, but not as much as Alex got, so Alex is much more prepared to go in.
In terms of the offensive line, when you went back and looked at the tape, what good signs did you see from them in progression that game, maybe compared to past game before that?
Yeah, it's really hard to articulate line play, especially. I've always had a tough time, but you can just see by the way they're playing, the tempo, the confidence or aggressiveness. Those 2 things usually go hand in hand. Just a little bit better on little details, techniques, those types of things. But we got plenty of room for growth, and I think it's pretty obvious. You got a guy who's just playing for Kennedy a year ago, playing right guard right now, so he's got a lot of room for growth. Love his attitude, love the way he works, but that's kind of nature of the beast, and that's where these days in between the games are so important to have a chance to work. And I'm guessing we're like most teams. A couple things. I mean, everybody mentioned about November football. Everybody's got challenges and hardships. Everybody has players that are out because of injury or playing less than 100%. So I imagine most people are like us. We really kind of cut back our times, contact, all those kinds of things. So it's even a bigger challenge for the players to really be honed in on the little technique things and the little detail things that make them better players. It'd be a lot easier if we just go out in pads, 4 times a week and, go to work. But you can't do that, and it's not realistic if you want to play Saturday. So those are kind of the challenges. And the challenge there is it's easier, I think, for a more mature player to understand how to practice without contact versus a younger guy. But that's the situation we're in right now, and I think the guys are growing. I think we're seeing that, and then all the other thing you're trying to do is match up against your opponent and what their scheme may be. So you got all those things going on at once, and the better we can run that race, the better off we'll be this Saturday, and hopefully the one after that and one after that.
With Mason out and Jack Plum moving up to start the tackle. Tyler Ellsbury's on the 2 deep now. What have you seen from him to where he's been able to make
Yeah, he's been practicing all along, just kind of like Deuce, and just he's getting better. He's been here a couple of years now, so he has an idea of what he's doing. But it's just, it's continual growth, increasing your tempo, the pace that you play at, those kinds of things. And part of that's confidence, part of that's just repetition and getting more settled in. But, it's next man in. It's like that for, we're not the only ones. Obviously, I referenced Minnesota took a hit right off the bat. And those are hard. They're hard on a football team. They put pressure on a football team, or you have pressure points. And part of the challenge is how well can you run that race. But we don't want to, we're getting a little stretched a little bit thin, so we don't need much more challenging there.
Is Cody Ince back this week? And who's behind Ellsbury now at that point? At tackle, would you look at Cody there?
Sure. I mean, he's a possibility. Yeah, absolutely. All those guys are Ellsbury, Cody. Colby could slide out. You just, you hate to take a guy who's in his first year playing and move him around too much, but he didn't seem to have a problem with that in camp. So, we got to keep all options open until we get this thing settled down a little bit. But, yeah, Cody at least seems to be, last week it was kind of dicey, but right now it looks, based on today, it looks like he's ready to go.
Looked like Mason got kind of rolled up behind his knee, or his left knee or whatever. Is it a week-to-week thing now? Or?
Yeah, it is, and you are right on the money. It just, and I don't know if those braces work or not, but we've had 2 of them now that, Leonard Baum had one earlier in the year. Where the braces are trashed and the guys walked away and are walking now. So that's really, I don't know if they work or not, but I'd say yes, especially in those kinds of situations. And so, yeah, it's day by day, but yeah, it could have been a lot worse. You saw it on film. It's, you're lucky to walk away from one of those.
Sounds like Riley Moss is back to practice.
Yep.
How's he looking?
Just seeing him out there is good. It's, really good. Nice sight. We'll take anybody back we can get, especially a veteran player like him. But no, he's feeling pretty good right now. And, unless we hit a pothole along the way, I think, he'll be full throttle Saturday. And anytime you're getting guys back, that's a really helpful thing, especially veteran players like Riley. And he was playing really at a high level, Matt was. And real credit to Jamari for the way he has stepped in, because he really, a couple of weeks ago, he was our 4th guy down the list and stepped in, done a really nice job. Got caught peeking a little bit the other night. But that's, quite frankly, I thought that probably would have happened sooner than it did. And a good life lesson for him. And, he'll move on. But this is hopefully going to help him in moving his career forward, too.
I know you like baseball analogies. A lot of times if a top prospect pitcher, they like to start him out on the road, not have that home pressure, that type of thing. But now Alex, comes here for his first start at home. What's the mentality? How does the mentality change, I guess?
I'm only laughing. You're way ahead of me right now. And I like the analogy, but it's like, so what choice do we have here? Or what choice does Alex have? He's got to be ready to go. And, I can't say enough about Spencer, what he's done this year and last year, and the way he goes about his business. And I can echo that about Alex. That's a good room. Those guys are really serious. And Spencer and Alex are together a lot. Like, you'll see them out here eating together a lot. They spend a lot of time together. And I can't say enough about the way Alex just went in and performed. It wasn't, I'm not a quarterback guru or any of that stuff, but you watch players and, he made you feel like, okay, it's no big deal. He's ready to go. This is the opportunity he wanted. And not in those circumstances, but, it was time to get in there and play, and he did, and didn't think much about it. And based on what I've seen for 2 days, I think he's just handling himself the way he does. He's I don't want to call him low-key, but he's a pretty steady, even-keeled person, and that helps at that position, certainly.
Was that what you expected from Alex, or did he kind of exceed your expectations with his poise and how ready he was?
Yeah, I mean, you just hope guys are going to step up and do a good job, and had no reason to think he wouldn't. But yeah, it's still, players have to do it, and players play. They're the ones out there playing the games. But yeah, I thought he just kept a real clear head and kept a real, good demeanor about him, and really executed things pretty well for us. So, and that. There's no better way to learn than being thrown into a game. That's how you learn. That's really how you learn. And it's like driving a car in some ways. At some point you got to get on the highway, and we're driving a city. So, it's all positive, but, there's going to be ups and downs just like every player. But, just really happy, and he's practicing well right now.
What are your thoughts on the way your defensive line is, and your run defense in general, because you're going against an offensive line that's older than probably a third of the NFL offensive lines?
Yeah, these guys are huge. I mean, it's their seventh guy, I think, is at the 300 or 305 mark. Like, you know, they're trying to get him. When he gets to 320, he'll be inserted in the top 5 maybe or whatever. But yeah, and the right tackle's been there forever. Like, he's a veteran guy and a really good player. So, you know, I mean, that's, you talk about leverage being important. It's going to be critical this week because obviously we can't match them size-wise. So for us to understand, you know, pad level and all those kinds of things and just being where we're supposed to be and hoping we can fill with our linebackers and DBs, it's going to be critical because they put a lot of pressure on you. You know, some really formations where they get real big, you know, a couple extra linemen in there, all that type of thing. So communication starts there, you know, being where you got to be, and then trying not to get knocked off the ball too. There's a lot of challenges, and they got backs that run hard. You know, they got backs that run hard, and they're working down the depth chart, but those guys have been really impressive.
I know you guys took a look at Irving, Bucky Irving, or whatever, during the recruiting process, and he seems to be, they're just kind of throwing guys in there and they're all producing. So what do you think of him?
You know, and I got to tell you, I'll go back when Coach Kill was there. I mean, it just seems like whoever the next guy is, you know, whatever year that was out there, 15, they had a couple guys with the kid from Georgia, and like, where do these guys come from? And they're good. Like, whoever they put in there seems to be good. And the streak continues. So it's just like one of those movies that just keeps rolling over and over and over. Their line is different now, and their system's a little different, but a lot of parallels between the way they attack.
Go ahead.
After Spencer is 100%, do you still see Alex competing for the starting spot?
Yeah, I mean, Alex is helping himself, or helped himself Saturday. So, you know, I mean, the good news as we stand here today, which is, you know, is really premature, we have guys, 2 guys that have played pretty well. So we know more now than we did a week ago, that's for sure. And I'd love to have both guys healthy and ready to go, and, you know, see where it all goes here.
What do you attribute the kind of the even keel level mentality that you have had as a coach, you know, for 40 years or whatever? Is there a mentor?
Well, yeah, Kodak moment. I guess, you know, we're all wired the way we're wired, probably to some degree. Yeah, I remember distinctly, can't give you the year, whether it was probably 93, because I tend to live and die with every play and have done that, and that's not a real healthy way to go about this. Ozzie Newsome was like just, you know, Mr. Freeze or Dr. Freeze again, whatever that was, Batman or something. And I asked him one time, I said, how do you just stand there, like, you know, because I know what I was feeling internally, and his message to me was, he says, you know, you're not going to survive in this league if you're riding the wave every play. There's a lot of you know, wisdom in that. That's a guy who had a great career, not a good career, Hall of Fame career, and Hall of Fame career as a general manager in my mind also. You know, was one of the best in the game at what he did there as a GM. But, you know, yeah, time teaches you. I mean, you know, and again, you know, it kind of goes back to, it's like I tell our team, you know, just Friday night, I mean, if we've prepared well, then go to bed with confidence. And if you haven't, then it's like taking a test. You know, you might be in trouble. So all you can do is all you can do. You prepare as well as you can and realize, too, this is a really competitive endeavor that we're all participating in. And just look at league records right now. There's a lot of good teams. So as my wife always tells me, half the teams win, half the teams lose. You know, you don't want to hear that crap. But anyway, it's just, you know, it's part of the deal. And, you know, every clinic I speak at, if you can't handle disappointment, you probably ought to find a new job, because it's, if you're teaching kids or coaching kids or parenting, you know, good luck. You know, good luck having a perfect record on that one. Doesn't happen too often.
I was looking at Padilla's bio in the media guide, and back in 2017 in high school, it said he won the Comeback Player of the Year award. Do you know anything about that? Was he injured or something?
Yeah, I don't remember that detail. I just remember doing the home visit and just, you know, what a great family. Dad played at Colorado State, and I think he was a center, which I obviously got an affinity for, you know, that. But, yeah, just a really good family. And Alex had a really nice career and was clearly a leader in that program for him, and it's a good program they played in. So, yeah, I don't know, it's a good question. I'll have to ask him that one. Yeah.
It's a good day for your running backs last Saturday. What are your thoughts on the first game of Tyler and Gavin in a full game? how they complement each other and what challenges Minnesota provides in terms of running the ball.
Yeah, which reminds me, I didn't mention Ivory. He's kind of day-to-day too, but it's, it's a little bit delicate there because he's got, foot issue, so it's tough for a running back. But yeah, Gavin did a really nice job stepping in there, and it's kind of like, the 4th and 2 he ran out here 2 months ago or a month and a half ago. Gavin's kind of a quiet, reserved guy, at least around us, but he plays strong and plays steady and is, really a detailed guy. He's kind of older than he is, chronologically, plays older. Really mature player, and he's a different type of runner than Tyler, so I think it does give us a good balance there. But really pleased with what we've seen of him, and we're high on LaShawn too. I thought he might get some opportunities Saturday. It didn't work out that way, but I think we have 3 guys right there that are, on the right path right now, and certainly it was good to get Tyler going a little bit, and it's going to help us. I mean, especially in November in the Big Ten, if you got to run the football some, or it's going to be tough.
You were working on the other side of the ball, but any memories of Tippett from?
Yeah. Yeah. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's just. I always tell this story, but I came here from the University of Pittsburgh. My first experience in Division I football, and that was not a good team. It was one of the great college teams. Somehow we coached it down to a 11-1 team. I mean, it was unbelievable. You got Marino, Tricano, 2 NFL quarterbacks. That was our 1-2 punch. Tricano was actually the safety. Marino got hurt. Tricano came over and started whatever 6-7 games. We won them all. And then he played for the Browns as a quarterback, I believe. But great player. We had 2 Hall of Fame offensive linemen. I don't think Freilic's in there, right? Freilich was a year later, but two guys, 1 Outland Trophy. He's not a Hall of Famer, but played for the Redskins for how many years? Defensively, the front 5, Ricky Jackson, Hugh Green, 2 of the greatest college players probably ever. The 3 interior guys all played in the NFL. I mean, it was just a really stacked team, and I think we had 12 guys drafted that year, and maybe 3 first round. 17 guys in camp. I remember that number exactly. So 5 free agents plus 12 came here in '81, and the talent wasn't quite the same. So it was my second stop in major college football, and a little disparity with the talent level, but I just dawned on me so quickly when I got here. One thing that was pretty very obvious is that team was tired of losing. And they were tired of losing. They were motivated. They were together. And the coaching staff was really cohesive. Coach Fry, I'd never met anybody like him in my life. So, what a magical experience that was. Having no idea what was going to happen. How could you and why would you? But yeah, to your point, one guy that kind of stood out was Andre Tippett. I was like, who's that guy? And I remember, tell you that my quick Andre story was, 3 weeks after I'm on the job here, 2 weeks, whatever, maybe a week, two guys come to my door at night, and it's Andre Tippett and Brad Webb. So you got Andre, who's an NFL Hall of Fame player, college football Hall of Fame player, and looks like one. And you got Brad Webb, who looks more like me, but was these are our 2 captains on defense. And Brad was a walk-on who ended up being a great player as well, law school, whole 9 yards. So anyway, but they were knocking on the door. They didn't want to meet me or say hello. They wanted to know if I had any film because they knew I'd been at Pitt, and they wanted to look at Ricky Jackson, Hugh Green. So that told you a lot, too, about the kind of players that were here. These guys wanted to get better. Andre Tippett, Hall of Fame player, and he's looking to look at somebody else's film. How do I get better? How do I improve? And you wonder why winners are winners, and that's a pretty good illustration, both those guys. And they were polite to me. I mean, they didn't just blow me off, but they wanted the tape. That's all they wanted. And they got what they wanted, and I'm glad because those guys played. That was a salty defense. That was really so. We couldn't run very well, but we were salty. A tough defense.
After a couple quieter days for a secondary, 3 interceptions, how helpful is it to have that pass rush to force some bad throws?
It's just huge. I mean, turnovers are such a big part of the game. And talk about, again, November football, they're important all the time. That's one stat that really counts in the November critical. So, it's one thing you got to protect the football, and we did a good job of that, but and avoiding stupid penalties. I think we did okay there. But, takeaways are just, it's such a good thing, such a good thing. I say we didn't turn one over, we blocked a punt, had a punt block, so that's like a turnover times 3 sometimes. But the defense put the fire out. But yeah, those takeaways are really big, and it's just great to see it.
What do you think of the defense or the secondary calling themselves the Doughboys?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, I don't even know what that means, but I'm all for it. So, dough, right? Like that kind of dough, right? Turnovers. I guess that's what it is at the time. Kelowna Bakery or?
Money.
Oh, money. Okay. I thought it was like, turnovers. Right? Silly me. Do they spell them both the same way?
There is Z at the end. I brought up a $sign as an S instead of the Z, so Kayvon said he's going to take that back to the D.
If they're cashing in on NIL, I'm all for it. Hey, good for them. You know, it's a capitalist society we live in. I'm all for it.
The receivers, your two freshmen have always kind of played at a higher level than their age, but the other day they seem to take another step forward, Keegan especially with a lot of targets, but then Arlen Bruce, you can hit him with a sledgehammer and he still holds
a heck of
the
a
ball.
play. Yeah, that was impressive.
It just seems like they're ascending. Do you kind of see that too, that they are becoming go-to type players?
Well, they've earned everybody's confidence just through their play, and they practice the same way. Obviously, we don't tackle and practice like that, but they play. They're focused. They're beyond their years focused, and take practice really seriously. And I mean, the guys are silly, but it's just it's rare when, and it doesn't sound that hard, but to get guys that are just like really wired in, they're pretty uncommon. It's amazing, and. Just like those two guys knocking on my door back in July of 1981. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but it just tells you how guys are thinking and why guys are successful. And these two guys are off to a really good start. But we've been saying that since spring ball, really. It's just how they've operated. And love to take credit. I don't know that any of us taught them that. I think they just came this way, and I'm not sure who taught them. But and then the other thing, Arlen's kind of interesting too. I don't know how heavily he was recruited, but. He's just a good player, and I think he was the first guy to win that Simone Award down in Kansas City, which is very prestigious. But that says something to him about a kid too. If he can do it as a junior, it's kind of like Hinkle. Hinkle's team's never lost from like 8th grade on, whatever sport. There's a lot of good things about that. So if you can identify that, something's got to be going on, because it's not like he's 6'3" or 220. He doesn't look like an Ohio State player, but he plays good. And that's what you're looking for. So it's a real compliment to him.
How did you not get Bortz over on the offensive side? You just didn't have enough.
I didn't have any clout back then, obviously, So, but in the way we played defense, that's where he belonged. I think he was all Big Ten as a true freshman. I was not here that year. I think he only weighed 220, 225. But you talk about a hard, just strong, tough guy. And the way we played defense, a little bit like some of these 34 teams. I mean, he just, you couldn't block him, and then. Guys like Tippett and Webb made a lot of tackles, and the guys behind, Simon, Milcole. So, what a great player Mark was. Just a really tough, hard-nosed guy.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.